All right. I believe we're live. So let me switch on Instagram here. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm trying to test this setup out. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. So, pricing your work. I really wanted to make this video because this is a conversation that I have probably at least once a week, once every 2 weeks, whenever I consult somebody, or it always seems to come up, especially in my space, because a lot of what I do is intangible, and it may take just hour at most to do. So the question is, how do you determine the value of these things and how do you price them? And I'm only speaking from my experience. I've worked for myself for 7 years now, and I've made a shit ton of mistakes, and I can really only tell you what's worked for me and what hasn't. I'm no Gary V here, but I can tell you what I've seen work and what doesn't work. And at this point, it's like the same patterns over and over and over again. So let's jump into it. Um, a lot of people, whenever they start out, they're desperate for clients. Um, so they look at themselves and they see where they're at in the business, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just starting out. I'm a small fish. So, yeah, I'll charge a little bit less than all these other people that are, higher than me, or more established or whatever." So what happens is a lot of people end up pricing off of margin and cost. And what that means is they're looking at what they're doing and they say, okay, it costs me X amount in materials and time. It takes me an hour. Say I do 100 an hour, and maybe $30 in software for something. And then they go, okay, well, really that's only 75 or 115 bucks or whatever for the service, for the cost of the service, so I'll charge 300. And they think that sounds great because you're well over 100% margin. You're spending a little over 100 and you're making 300. That sounds great, but it completely misses what's happening on the other side of that transaction. What are you actually doing for that business? Oh yeah, these are common mistakes. I hope this doesn't look horrific. Y'all are watching. Let me know if you can read my shit writing. So, and what a lot of people do once they get in this situation, they pitch their deal at their price, and of course, the business is not, no business is ever going to say no to a deal that's bad for you. If the deal's good for them, they'll say yes all day. I don't care if it's the nicest person in the world. That's just how it works. Um, so you end up more work for less money. And a lot of times, what happens when you're thinking in this way, you take on rough clients. And that's any client that runs you ragged or is constantly making changes, ordering you around, and doing, really just sucking up all of your time and energy. And if you were looking at the situation from the perspective of, okay, what value am I providing them? What is this actually doing for their business? You would have seen right away that there's somebody that is just looking to get whatever you offer as cheap as possible. They don't care about working with you or whatever it is that you do that's special. They're just concerned, okay, I can get a website for $200. Yes, that sounds good. And those are the clients you, of course, don't want to work with. You want to work with somebody that is going to look after you, support you, and, you know, turn you on to their people and that sort of thing. So I'll tell you a story from whenever I worked at the print shop. Me and my buddy Tony ran one for about a year or two, and just like most situations, it nuked, and we showed up one day and we were locked out. So lesson there is have everything on paper. But anyway, during this during this work, I learned so much from Tony because he was able to work at the highest possible level, servicing clients like Rupert Murdoch, huge companies like Benjamin Moore Paints, at a corporate level, like at, you know, the he's having meetings with the boards and the partners of these particular industries. So what we did was we made a soccer jersey for a team out of I actually think it's in the Bronx. I'm not sure. So this was the jersey that we made. I actually did the stitching and pressing on most of them. So yeah, this is I made these. They cost us maybe 15 to 20 bucks to make. Embroidery, the vinyl, the actual shirt and shorts, and everything was maybe 20 bucks at most. We sold these each set for $98, and we sold 30 of them. And you look at this and you think, why the hell would somebody spend $98 on a little league jersey? It's got to be a scam. They must just be stupid. They must just have no idea what they're doing, or, you know, Tony must be a scammer or something like that. It's like, no, not at all. They actually switched to another provider. They got their jerseys from someone else and then switched back. So think about that. Think about, why is it worth $98 to have these jerseys for these kids to play in? Because here's what happened. The first time they got these jerseys that season, this is no lie, they literally won every single game. Because these kids are going out there on that field and they look like a professional team. The other teams got the, you know, friend of a friend jerseys that were made in somebody's garage. You know, these are 100% custom, professional level. The font's even like World Cup font. It's, you know, every single detail in this is top notch. So if you look at it like, oh, I'm just selling them a uniform, then yeah, you know, 98 bucks sounds kind of crazy, because you can get a licensed Manchester United jersey for less than that. Why? The answer is value. The value isn't these jerseys and that we printed them and made them look good. The value is these kids now feel like a professional team. They go out on the field and they play their freaking hearts out because they're like, I feel like one of the pros. And for the parents to watch their kids have that experience, yeah, that's worth $98. That's worth $200. If I can see my kid, in peak performance, enjoying what he's doing, anybody will pay any sort of money for that. So when in any business transaction, the deal that you're making isn't ever exactly about the product. It's what is that doing for the business. And we had the same situation with these invitations here. These were made for Rupert Murdoch's wife, Wendy, at the time. That's a lucite, laser cut lucite neon piece of plastic. And I've got the bottom covered up there because there's some contact information, but it says, "Please join me underneath the stars for an intimate dinner to celebrate Wendy's 40th birthday. Love, Rupert." Um, these cost maybe about $20 each to get them carved, get them sent, shipped, all of that. We charged 1,000, or Tony charged 1,000 per card, and she ordered 50 cards. So that's a $50,000 bill for birthday invitations. No one's getting scammed. If anybody knows what the cost of goods are, it's people at that level. They know that the cost of this is nothing. They know that they're paying a massive margin for what they're getting. But why? Because it's not just this card that you're buying. You're buying doing business with this person and how they do business. So if I'm spending a little bit extra to not have 8 phone calls sorting out what we want the card to look like, we don't have to send back cards because they had a spelling error on it. There's no delays in shipping. It gets done and gets there the next day. It's the interpretation. He's able to have one meeting, gather what they want, and instantly delivers it with no speed bumps, no back and forth or anything like that. So to these people, it's worth it to get that time back. You know, I'm not having to spend a couple hours in the week to sort this out and manage ordering these birthday cards. I send one email to Tony and we have one phone call and it's done. And then it shows up at my door. That's worth infinitely more, because you're giving these high caliber people their time back and you're giving them exactly what they want. And that all comes from understanding the value. So like for me, if I am like let's say I build a coupon system for a business. Let me circle back. So let's say I build a digital coupon system for a business. It takes me $10 and maybe 4 hours to set up. I can price that at 500 and that's fine. I've gotten paid, my hourly, and I've got I've got some profit there. But on the other end of that, what my system does for that business is they're able to make an extra $4,000 a month because of the customers that it's bringing in. And it's all tracked. It's all on paper. So that's $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year. So now is it crazy for me to charge $1,500 a month? $1,200? I mean, in the scope of the work that I'm putting into it, it sounds ridiculous. But when you compare it to what you're delivering to that business, it makes sense. I mean, you have to still leave meat on the bone for them, of course. If you're making them $10,000 a month and you say pay me $5,000, that's the people won't go for that. But if you can show them, hey, I'm aware of how much I'm making you, and take care of me, give me this portion of it, and you can have the rest. That's how you get to charging high dollar, high ticket for services that other people will turn around and sell for $50, and they can't even get a client a week at that. So the real solution to these issues are a couple things. Know your real value. I just had a real cool conversation with Sadie, if you're watching. We talked about her photography business. And in that business, you're giving pictures to people. That's it. Not exactly. The pictures are just a container. Within that container, you have a memory, you have a moment, you have an experience that you're capturing for eternity for them. So if it's like a wedding shoot, you're not just delivering pictures from a camera, you're capturing and immortalizing their one of the biggest days in somebody's life. And that, if you think about it that way, that's worth now thousands of dollars, or more, depending on how what you're offering and what your setup is. And for example, she does boudoir shoots as part of her offerings. So again, even that, it's not just pictures of you in lingerie. It's feeling beautiful, being the center of attention, being shown off, and feeling beautiful. That's really what the product is in that package. So when I go and I set up systems for businesses, I price everything by business, because you have to, I know the real value of what I'm doing. I know that my systems are going to continue to increase your customers over time. So even if I step away, you're still going to be benefiting from what I set up. So I'm going to be compensated for that. And that's completely fair. So know your real value, know what, there's always something metaphysical that you're delivering as part of your business. That the growth that I give businesses, it's not just customers and dollars. I give the owner time. I give the owner power. I give him resources. And that all translates into a lifestyle. I could argue that the vacation he took that year was because of me. That there's a direct line from my work to his dollar amount, and then the cost of his vacation. When you think about it that way, you're able to price things way above what you ever thought of before, and it still makes sense. The deals are still good, and the business respects you that much more, because it doesn't look like you're just trying to get a dollar amount. You're actually aware of what you're doing, what their part of it is, and you're making sure that you're compensated for your part of the relationship. So know your real value, know your numbers. If you don't know, let me take this invite off. So know your real value, know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know your cost, if you don't know your time involved, you're going to have no idea where to put your pricing. You have to know your client. Every single client that I speak with, I make sure that I understand exactly how they make their money. Exactly. Down to the dollar amount, what they take in each month, what their highest tiers are, what sells the most, what doesn't. And that way I get a picture of their finances. I get a picture of their income. So if their income is at $200,000, then my services are going to be $5,000, $10,000, whatever. And you're not going to get that if you are working with somebody that's at a low level, or just starting out, or whatever. You can make services to cater to them, but at the end of the day, they only have so much money to spend. So you want to make sure you know what clients you're going after, you know their situation, because you can walk up to 1,000 people and tell them, hey, my price for this is $1,000 and that's my value. And you'll get no every time. Because it's not, sticking to your price and being unapologetic about it. It's being able to explain why your price is that and why it's worth it for the value that you're giving in return. So that really comes down to the most probably the most important element of all of this, and that's say no. If you're speaking with a potential client and they're asking you, well, that's a little high. I was really only thinking about paying this much. What a lot of new entrepreneurs will do is they will formulate some watered down version of what they do for this person to meet that price point. And now what you've done is you've created products based off of customer exceptions. So that it's not even a product, and then you go back and then you do this for other people now too that want a lower tier. And that's not even a service that you've actually created. The customer created that. They said, no, 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 no. That's not the package I need. Picked out from it what they want and said, this is the package I need. Can you do it for this much? Who's the employee now? Who's the client now? If your package has all of these elements a part of it, that's for a reason. You know what benefit those things are bringing to the client. And if they're coming to you and they're saying, yeah, I don't want these other elements, I just want this, then there's a very good chance that they're not interested in working with you. They're interested in what you're able to do for them at a low price. And those are people you do not want to work with at all. If you're looking to just sell at a low price to anybody that wants it, then you're going to have to go after huge volume, and you're going to have a team to set up and service that so that it's profitable, because you're going to have to churn over a lot of people. You know, it's much harder to get 5 $50 clients than it is to get one $250 client. It'll always be easier. Go for the deals that make the most sense for what value you offer. You know, if you're constantly finding yourself in that conversation where you're trying to pick apart what you're doing to lower the price, then maybe you need to go to a higher income demographic. Maybe you need to reassess how you're approaching people and what kind of people you're approaching. I think that's about it. About beat that to death. Let me see. Providers, the ones that do all in one, rarely did any of them actually ever start that way. They started in some niche and then expanded. Like Apple wasn't always phones, computers, and all this other stuff. They started with computers and stayed on that for decades. And then they added the iPod Touch. And it wasn't until years after they perfected the iPod Touch that they started adding cell phones. Now you've got watches, earbuds, everything. There's Apple. I'm sure we'll have an Apple car at some point. So what you need to do is niche yourself, especially early on, and say, I'm only working with this particular type of people and this particular situation, and this is what I do. And you want to find situations where you're able to provide the most value to those particular clients. So the value is, to answer your question, Dan, like if people come to me versus some other web service or whatever, I can tell them, look, I'm one person, I'm one contact point. You're not having to have a graphic designer, you don't have to have a web guy, and you don't have to have a marketer. I'm all three of those in one. So that's my value added proposition that makes what I offer a little bit more attractive than other services. And the more you niche yourself, the more clear that becomes. So now, like say I'm a jeweler, right? and I say I just want to sell to anybody that wants jewelry. If I do that, then instantly I'm competing with all big box jewelry stores. And that's impossible. There's no way I'm gonna even play that game. But if I go, I sell jewelry and I only sell it to rappers. Now we're talking. Now I have, okay, what do rappers want exactly? Okay, they want these brands. So I'm only going to stock these brands. Oh, you know what? Music artists are normally pretty busy too. So I'm going to set up a come to you service where they answer a questionnaire. I bring all the products that I think they'll like, and we have a fitting of the items right there in their hotel, in their house, or wherever. So now I have a service that I offer that nobody else offers. And it's because I've niched my target demographic down to a very defined set. So that's really I hope that answers your question, Dan. If people don't know who you are, then yes, you're gonna want to show them what you do, but you don't do that by having the cheapest product. You do it by catering the most to their exact demographic. You know, the specialist is always going to get the job over the generalist, right? If you're getting surgery on your lungs, you want a lung surgeon, not a vet, because they specialize in that area. I don't care who they are. The fact that they, that's their forte, that's what they do the most. I mean, that speaks for itself. So, anyways, hope that answers your question, Dan. Oh, Hannah, thanks for joining if you're still sticking around. Yeah, I think that's about it. Appreciate you all, and I'll probably be doing this more. So, have a good one.